I've been a GoodNotes user for a really long time now, and it's actually been my kind of go-to note taker on the iPad for a fair few years. And now GoodNotes has evolved. It's no longer GoodNotes 5, but we're now on GoodNotes 6, and there's a lot of focus on that dreaded word AI. And there's a bunch of other little usability updates in here which are definitely worth talking about. Oh, and I am in the process of making a general best note-taking app for iPad, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that one. But anyway, let's get right into it. First up, let's talk about the new features which I really like and I think are really decent additions to the overall experience. Firstly is Circle to Lasso, which is such a great feature. Basically, this lets you circle some text that you've got, and then when you long press it with the Apple Pencil, you can move it around. You can also do this with your finger, but if you're anyone like me and you often run out of space or anything like that and you want to move text around, you have to jump back and forth on the lasso tool to do it. Not anymore, you can just circle it and move it. I absolutely love that. I think it's fantastic. And the second one is Scribble to Delete. This one's kind of obvious, but basically if you write something wrong, you can literally just scribble it out now rather than having to go into the rubber tool and then back or double tapping the pencil. You can just do that with a quick scribble, which is great. And if your handwriting is not joined up like mine isn't, you can actually scribble out little bits of words as well and just go back to what you were doing. It's really great. Another new feature I really like is the spelling correction with AI. So while you're handwriting, GoodNotes will spell check as you go and then underline anything which it doesn't recognize. And then if you long press on it, it will actually give you some spelling correction. And then it will use a little bit of AI to try and fill in where you went wrong. This isn't perfect right now, it's a little bit wonky, and if your handwriting isn't massively neat like mine, it can often look like you've spelt something wrong when you haven't really, you're just being a bit sloppy. But also if it corrects a word within a sentence, sometimes the corrected spelling will go over the other words you've got in that sentence, which just makes it look a bit messy. Oh, and it's also worth mentioning as well, even though this was added with GoodNotes 5, it is quite a late feature to get added, you now have full audio recording in GoodNotes 6. So if you're listening to a lecture or anything like that and you want to record while you're taking notes, that's a simple tap of the button, and I'm really happy that that's here. The UI's had a bit of a tweak as well, so now it's a little bit easier if you want to type up notes with the keyboard or if you want to move to the pen, and you've got contextual menus on that, which I think aren't the neatest, but at least they're really obvious where the difference is. And jumping to the main interface, you can actually now finally color your folders and even give them an icon as well. I don't know why it took them so long to get round to this, but I'm really happy it's here. It just means going through your notes and putting them in files and folders and then marking them accordingly is just easier. There's also a marketplace within the app now that's really obvious to go to, and while it's quite small, there's not loads in here. I think it's good that this app has it. It's nice to kind of scroll through things, and if you need a new notebook or if you want to look at anything else on there, you can, and it's got its own dedicated space, whereas before it always felt like an afterthought, so it's nice to have that fully integrated now. You can now also completely customize your notebook templates too, which is great. This feels a little overdue as well, but you can now pick your paper type, paper size and notebook cover, and then have that as your own templates. You can just make loads of them if you need to. But the final update, and the one that I'm actually kind of most excited about in a way, is the fact that GoodNotes is now finally cross-platform, which is fantastic. I used to mark GoodNotes down a little bit because you could never access it on the web or on Windows, but now you can. It's on iPad, iPhone, Android, Windows, Mac, everything, and on the web as well. Although I don't think the web client is out yet unless I just can't seem to find it. But yeah, this is great. It means wherever you write your notes, and especially if you're a student, if you write them at home and then you're using a college computer back at school or something like that, you still have access to those notes, which is great. All right, let's talk about bad points, because actually there's quite a few to go along with the good ones too. And first up, this isn't a brand new separate app. This is GoodNotes 5 just updated to GoodNotes 6, which means if you're on GoodNotes 5, you're going to be constantly kind of pushed to upgrade to 6. And sometimes if your app store is upgrading automatically, it will just push you over to GoodNotes 6. Now you can roll this back in settings on GoodNotes 6, but it couldn't be more obvious they want you to leave that behind. And that's totally understandable, but GoodNotes 6 has now moved to a subscription-based service. Now the pricing on this overall is another bad point. It's just really kind of confusing and not all features are with everything. There's a free tier, which is kind of fair enough. GoodNotes is always a paid thing, so to have a free tier is awesome. You get a few books and you can kind of just test it out, which is fine. There's a yearly subscription, which is $9.99, which kind of gives you access to absolutely everything. That's clearly the one they want people on. And then there's also a one-time purchase, which is $29.99, which is just a one-off purchase, which gives you everything, but it doesn't give you access to the multiple clients, so you can only access it on your iPad, which is just really strange. I kind of understand they can't just give away those apps for free, but having a one-off pricing for those two would maybe help with that. But that brings me to the next point, is this overall kind of messaging about the pricing and what happens with GoodNotes 5 has just been kind of weird as well. It only takes a quick look on their Twitter feed when they announce 6 to see all the issues that's come up, and no one really knows what's going on with all their notes in GoodNotes 5, and their website's had a few updates to try and explain better what's going on. So I really feel like that could have just been handled better. And if you've paid for GoodNotes on your Mac before, like I had, that app is now just gone. So if you're on GoodNotes 5 then using that app on the computer, you can't anymore, which is just kind of bad. The whole thing should have been exciting, but it's kind of been more of a weird kind of upgrade path with no massive information, which I think has been a real shame. Also, going back to the GoodNotes app as a whole, there's also no internal links to different pages within your notes either, which is kind of a request that I feel like we've been asking for the longest time, and this would be a perfect way to roll it out, but that's still not here yet either. Before moving on, I did want to thank the sponsor of this video, Paperlike. And hey, look, if you know me, you know that Paperlike is the only screen protector for iPad that I really recommend if you do need one. I've used them for a long time between all of my iPads, and I really do think they're the way to go. Paperlike does double duty for your iPad too, not only protecting the screen, but also it really makes it feel like you're writing, drawing, or sketching on paper. They do this with nanodot technology, which adds resistance and grip to your pencil inputs, taking away that unnatural feeling of writing on glass and replacing it with that familiar papery feel. It's a really sweet way to upgrade your iPad experience. This is the Paperlike 2.1 as well, which is an updated version to boot, meaning you're getting an expert-backed Swiss-based manufactured product, which gives you much better overall visibility and clarity when using your iPad compared to their earlier versions. So if you want to check Paperlike out, then head to the link in the description below, and of course a huge thank you goes out to Paperlike for sponsoring this video. So that's what I like and what I don't like, but there are some things which are actually kind of really tough for me to comment on because they're just not directed at me and they're just features that I won't really use. And the first up with that is the Maths AI help. This is a feature which takes things like equations and sums and all of those sorts of things, and then the AI will turn them into kind of text in real time and also give you the answers if you need them. You can also download previous maths papers or SATs and things like that, and then answer those questions in real time in a proper kind of test scenario, which is awesome. I kind of wish that was there when I was at school, but yeah, that's tough for me to comment on. I haven't done maths in the longest time, so I don't even know if it's correcting it right because I just don't know much about maths anymore. I do really like the fact that you can download previous exams though. I think that would be awesome if they could do that across all the countries and then also bring them to different subjects as well. I can imagine science tests and English tests being on there. That would be really awesome. So that's something I would love to see. Another thing which is like ugh for like me to comment on because I can't really is the fact that they're promising loads of new features as well. And that's awesome. It's always great to see when a company's promising to bring new updates to an app, but you should kind of never buy an app based on what they're promising to deliver. You should get it on what's out right now. But they do have some cool stuff planned. It looks like there's an AI chatbot coming and there's loads of other community feedback features which you can see on the website which they're addressing too. But again, hard for me to comment on because I don't know if those features are actually coming or not. So my final thoughts, and do I overall think it's worth upgrading to or using, and that probably is answer enough for a lot of you out there. I do think this is a good upgrade in general though. It's better than GoodNotes 5 in pretty much every single way. Some of the new AI stuff, although a little bit gimmicky right now, shows some cool promise of the future. And I think the new gestures and UI just speed up the whole process, which is always good. You can never complain about that. However, I'm not sure it warrants the upgrade to GoodNotes 6, like a full numbered release. This definitely feels like a 5.5 or something like that. And more than anything, it kind of feels like a way of GoodNotes getting people onto this new subscription pricing rather than releasing like a fully fledged, all singing, all dancing, all exciting new app. And I don't hold GoodNotes kind of wholly responsible for moving to a subscription pricing. It's kind of happening across the board now. But my only other feedback on that is, when does it all end? What's to stop a calculator popping up monthly or any other app for that matter? So I think if you're on GoodNotes 5 and you're totally happy with it, you'll probably get updated to GoodNotes 6 anyway, but you can just roll it back and continue using it. But if you are new to GoodNotes, then you're not going to have a choice. This is the only version of it you can use. And I think that's pretty much all I can say. I'm going to take the upgrade. I think GoodNotes 6 is good enough, and I think £10 a year isn't too bad. But if you're using GoodNotes 5 and you're more than happy with it, then just keep using that because really it's absolutely fine. So that rounds up all of my thoughts about GoodNotes 6. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd love to know what you think. What do you think about this new pricing structure and what do you think about the app in general? Leave a comment below because I'd love to read through those. And like I mentioned, I am working on a big video about the best note-taking app for iPad, so that'll be on here soon. And as always, I will see you all in the next one.